welcome back to episode 6 of the From the Spot podcast. This week, I'm joined by Robbie and Lucas, and we're just going to talk about some of the week's biggest sporting stories. I think the one on everyone's mind at the moment is that 7-0 yesterday. So, Robbie, what's your thoughts on that from a United perspective?
I mean, where do I start, really? Look, I think we played well the first half. I think the goal was obviously against the run of play. But there's no real excuse for the capitulation in the second half. I mean, it's all well and good going out and losing 3 or 4-0. But I mean, it's basics to just, shut up shop after the fourth or even the third at that point. And I think a lot of the players seemed a bit arrogant. They seemed a bit cocky, and I didn't really like it. I think the beginning of the second half, they were laughing and joking in the tunnel. I was like, can't be doing that at Anfield. Like, you need to concentrate. Like Roy Keane said, he didn't really find it amusing that they were, laughing and buddying about. Get the focus in. It's Anfield. Get the performance in, and it's not to discredit Liverpool. I think they played phenomenal, and it was great to see Salah breaking Liverpool's all-time Premier League goal scoring record. I think it was well deserved. I mean, I could talk for hours about how I really feel about the match, but the better team won. It's as simple as that.
I mean, the one player that you kind of singled out was Bruno Fernandes. I think we've all seen that clip of that dive and asking to be subbed off, but now apparently he didn't ask to be subbed off. So it's definitely a strange one, and I think Erik ten Hag will deal with it a lot better than maybe Solskjaer would have or Rangnick would have. But who have you got this weekend? I can't remember.
I think it's Southampton. We have Real Betis on Thursday. And then on Saturday, on Sunday we have Southampton. But for me, Bruno was atrocious. I wouldn't be throwing the captain's armband at him anytime soon. Regardless of what,
an interesting few games coming up.
Yeah, we do. We've quite an interesting number of games coming ahead. But like I said, I wouldn't be giving him the armband anytime soon. It did come out that he wasn't requesting to be subbed off, but I mean that's one example of items that. Fair enough, he might not have been asking to be subbed off, but it doesn't excuse his behaviour and doing this beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't even the only, big game this weekend. Obviously, I think at the Emirates we had a bit of a shock, didn't we? 9 seconds into that one. What happened? I didn't watch the game, but what happened?
Goal shouldn't have stood. I mean, 3 of their players were an hour and a half, but apart from that, I mean, Bournemouth do that every game, and we just didn't. I think after the game, Odegaard said that they had looked at that, but it just seemed lazy. I don't know. I mean, the ball went underneath everyone's foot somehow, and then just spilling was there.
Yeah, it's unlucky to be fair, but I mean, the end result that mattered was that 97th minute winner from Reiss Nelson. Did you see it coming?
Well, it's hard. I mean, I sort of believed in the unbelievable. Like a few times this season, we've come back. United as a rings a bell in the 90th minute, but when that ball came out to Nelson, I just didn't think it would be it. I was hoping he wouldn't shoot. I was hoping for a little lobbed ball back into the box, but I mean, I'm happy he shot now. But now, good celebrations, but now we're being charged for that, so can't celebrate anymore either. So
no, it is a strange one. I mean, I had a bit of a poor result on the weekend, also with the loss to Southampton that now sees us 3 points off the relegation zone, 3 points off the bottom, I think it is actually. So there's a few shock results, I think, this weekend, and it's ones that definitely keep the table interesting. Next weekend's games look to be a challenge as well. There's some good ones in there. But obviously, back to European competition like this week as well. You've mentioned Real Betis. Arsenal have got Sporting on Thursday. Chelsea have got Dortmund. Spurs have got Milan. It adds an extra level to it, doesn't it? Because you can't just focus on, okay, we've got Southampton next weekend, because realistically, you'd say, okay, we start a stronger squad on Thursday against Real Betis, very good side, and play a rotated squad against Southampton. But when you've been thrashed 7-0 by your biggest rivals on the weekend, and have a tough game in midweek, you can't afford to rotate a squad. And Southampton have shown that they can win games.
Yeah, I think it's a tricky one. Like I said, I have faith in Ten Hag. I think. Look, I'm not going to turn around and say it was a freak result. It happened. 7-0 to Liverpool. I've never seen it before in my life. I'm 30, and seeing it happen there was kind of ridiculous. I mean, it is what it is. But Betis on Thursday, I mean, it's a chance for everyone in the team to show, like, look, okay, we're aware we can't just capitulate like that. We can't just drop tools and throw tantrums and play dirty and start leaving the foot in for fouls. It's not the United way. It's not even a sporting way to play. I know, look, it's a rivalry. It's in sense a derby, but it's no excuse for behaviour like that. And I think it'd be interesting to see the reaction of the players come Thursday, because from what I've heard and from what's been reported, Ten Hag wasn't exactly the happiest. I think it was referenced that he said if it happened again, regardless of whomever it was, their reputation, they'd be dropped to the under-21s. I mean, he's absolutely right. You cannot play like that. You can't pull on the United shirt and play at that level. It's ridiculous. And Southampton as well will obviously be a tough test. Southampton can and sometimes do show up. There's been times recently where they've shown up despite being battered, 9-0. They still show up. They're still a dangerous opponent. So, I mean, I think the next couple of games are going to be very key for United. I think the next couple of games will shape their mentality. There has been talks that Ten Hag has ordered the players to have more meetings with the sports psychologist. For the life of me, I can't remember his or her name. But the fact that he's taken it as seriously as he has, and I know, look, it is a given he's going to take a 7-0 loss seriously. I'm finding that positive. I'm trying to find the positive moments here. I feel a bit different. If this had been under Ollie or Rangnick, I'd have no hope for the rest of the season. Genuinely, I wouldn't really bat an eyelid if we just kind of dropped off. But I think with Ten Hag, look, this isn't the first time he's going to have collared these players, and I'm fairly certain they're hoping it's going to be the last time he's pulled them up on something. He is a bit of a disciplinarian, as we're aware. He dropped Rashford despite being in prime form for being, I think it was half an hour late to a team meeting.
Yeah, that Wolves game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. So he's got gall, and he's not afraid to show that. Like, look, no player is bigger than the club, and no player is bigger than a performance. It's as simple as that, really.
I think having that discipline helps, though, doesn't it? You can't afford to be half an hour late, or like in the case of Bruno Fernandes, when he just let Basetic run past him on the touchline. Like, you've got to have that graft for 90 minutes. Do you know what I mean? You can't be slacking, and I think Ten Hag is a manager that will punish you for it.
Yeah, he is, definitely. I mean, seeing Bruno just let him run past him was a bit of a joke. It was more so his reaction after he was ran past that was kind of telling of his character. I mean, throwing your hands up when you've been skint, that's a no-no. I think you're instilled in football when you're relatively young. If you get beaten by your man, you chase your man down. It's as simple as that. If he gets past it, you run, sprint, chase. You do whatever you can to even, if you can't tackle him, at least get in the way of a shot, cross, pass. Just do whatever you can legally, obviously, to obstruct them. Don't just stand there and throw your hands up to the sky or stamp your feet in the ground. You've been skinned. Deal with it. Go after him. It's not difficult. It's deal with it. Many other footballers have dealt with it. He's no different. He should have just, as a captain or as anointed captain, kind of should have just done that. He should have set by example. Oh no, I've been skinned. That's embarrassing. Let me try win the ball back. Let me try at least get something in here, something positive. Just unfortunately wasn't the case.
Yeah, absolutely. I think looking forward to this weekend, obviously we've already mentioned the European football before then. But Lucas, you've got, is it Fulham on Sunday? Yeah. They're in good form, If you're struggling against Bournemouth, then you're definitely going to struggle against Fulham, you'd like to think. But what's your sort of predictions for how that's going to play out?
I have to wait till Thursday, I think. I want Arteta to go as strong as we can against Sporting. They're a very good side. It happened against Benfica a couple of years ago. We put out a pretty weak side, and then it nearly bit us. It nearly bit us back, but then we relied on an Aubameyang late-minute winner there as well. So I want to see a strong team, and then if we're in a good enough position, maybe cruise through the second leg. But with that in mind, I don't see Fulham being a convincing win if we do win. And then I'm not even that confident we will win anyway.
I think
No,
carry on.
No, you go.
I think the win against Bournemouth, even though it was that late, unconvincing performance, I think that's eased a lot of pressure for the Fulham game, though, because City would have been 2 points behind you if you'd have lost that game. A win means that you've got that 5-point lead still. Do you know what I mean? So you can afford to lose to Fulham. It might not be the ideal situation, but you can perhaps rest your squad a little bit from Thursday and then go from there. I mean, for us, we've got Chelsea, so God knows what's going to happen with that one. And it would have been nice if Luke was on tonight, because having picked up a win at Leeds, that it was only 1-0, but it's their first goal in almost a month. Are they turning the corner, or is it a one-off? Because with it being Leeds, I don't even think they've appointed a new manager yet. You can't tell. You've got nothing to base it off. I think I saw something on Twitter yesterday that said Brendan Rodgers has been given 3 games to get 4 points by the board. Whether it's true or not, I've got no idea. But when you're in a relegation battle, 3 points from 4 points from 3 games is nowhere near good enough. You need to be getting consistent results. So I think the Chelsea game next week, for me, if he doesn't win it, he's gone. He should be anyway.
I mean, that's kind of difficult to say. I mean, he has delivered your most recent trophy in times. And I think, look, he's gone through a season where you've got key people injured, key people out. He's going to have to go back to the drawing board, rejuvenate his tactics a little bit. Like when Leicester show up, they show up and they play brilliantly. But I think I look at Brendan now, it kind of seems like he's a bit weary. He seems tired. And I think, look, if he makes it to the end of the season, hopefully he does. If he makes it to the end of the season, gets a transfer, he comes back rejuvenated, some fresh tactical ideas. I don't see why Leicester couldn't be challenging for Europa Conference League or even the Europa League itself. They're not a bad side. They're just playing badly, unfortunately, as it is. They are a very good team. Like I said, they can show up. They won the FA Cup as recent. I think it was 2021.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big trophy. That's it's a bigger trophy than United have won in that time frame.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just the performances this season have been so inconsistent. We had that really rough period at the start of the campaign. Around October sort of time, it picked up and it was going really well. Maddison was in the form of his life, got picked for the World Cup squad, and the World Cup break just came at the wrong time for us. I think after that, we've barely won a game. It's been awful. But I don't think Brendan, I think if he can stick it out to the end of the season, he's done well. I think realistically at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if we go down. I don't think we're showing enough quality. Vardy's getting too old. I hate to say it, but next season I don't think he'll be starting many games at all. Maybe cup runs. That'll be it. Iheanacho, when he plays, he can be brilliant, but then he can have days where he does absolutely nothing at all. Tete, that game against Aston Villa, he played on his debut. So that was a false hope. He's not done a lot since. Christensen's out for 4 weeks now with an ankle injury. And Harry Souttar's been the best of the lot. He came close to getting a 90th minute goal on the weekend. But I don't know. I just don't think Brendan Rodgers is... Whether it's even Brendan or if it's the board that aren't backing him, but something's got to change. And if it doesn't, we're in trouble.
But if it doesn't change, I think take a look at the manager market, who's available out there. And from a realistic standpoint, who will go to Leicester? And it's not a slight to Leicester. I know Pochettino is still lurking about, but I personally can't see him dropping and taking the Leicester job if it pops up. You've got a couple of other managers that their positions are currently under threat. In different European leagues, I can't see them stepping over and taking over Leicester, which is why I think, look, it is a blip. It's going to last for a couple of months. It's going to last until the end of the season. It's the same with Chelsea. Chelsea fans, the immature Chelsea fans have described themselves as being in crisis. They're not. They have a manager who's taking over a top team for the first time in his career that's been landed with a football manager team, essentially. Like that's a team that people will build in FIFA career mode, and he's trying to get them to harmonise. He's trying to get them to gel correctly, trying to get them to buy into his tactics, his philosophy. That's not going to be this happened in September. It's not going to be 5 or 6 months. Yeah, it can happen sooner for some other managers, but not every manager is the same, and not every football club is the same. And I think, yeah, Chelsea will come good, and I do think Leicester will come good as well. It's just time is of the essence, and obviously backing of transfers in Leicester's case as well, because I do believe Tielemans is leaving at the end of the season on a free.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And the problem we've got is it is getting too close to the end of the season now. And yeah, we could hit that magical 40-point mark still. But I just don't see us doing it. We've got a tough run of games. I think the Chelsea defeat, if we lose that, given the form they've been in recently, I think that's just going to be so demoralising. Kind of well, if we can't beat them, then who can we beat? Having lost to Southampton, gone out the cup in the week. It's not been a good run of form. Lost to Arsenal as well. We've lost 4 games in a row now. We've gone 148 minutes without a shot on target. Sorry, there's no positives to take from it. There's really not, other than we're not losing 4 or 5-0 each week. But I think, yeah, you've got to give Brendan time, and it could just be a blip, but it's a blip that could cost us Premier League status. And if you go down to the Championship, then our team ain't going to want to play in the Championship. Maddison will definitely go then. Tielemans is off anyway. But, you've got to... We have to stay up, otherwise we are well and truly in trouble. And once you go down, who do you bring in? The one manager that I've got my eye on at the moment, and I'm not sure how long his contract is at the moment, I think it's until the end of the season, with Nice, is Didier Degas. He's taken over from Lucien Favre when he was sacked. And he's done well. It's very, very, very respectable string of results. But it's known whether he would come over here and sort us out. But I got into a bit of an argument on Twitter with this, actually, because someone was saying, it's a respectable run of form in an average league. What's the point? He's not going to do it in the Prem. But I'd rather have a respectable run of form in an average league than below average performance in a respectable league. Do you know what I mean? And that's what Brendan's giving us at the moment. It's nothing to write home about. It actually hurts to write Leicester match reports at the moment because, you can't pick out any good chances or any of this. Maddison came out on Twitter and said to Rob Tanner, because Rob Tanner had written an article about how there were just no positives. And Maddison's like, we created chances, we did all of this. But unless you got a shot on target at the end of it, chances don't matter. You don't win a game through chances. You win a game through shots on target.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously is tough. But I just, like I said, I cannot see a Brendan Rodgers team going down. I just don't think. I think Leicester are too big to go down. I think with Everton being in free fall, and I can't remember who the other 2 relegation candidates are, but I can't remember even who's bottom of the table. And that probably goes to show me ignorance as a United fan that I've been focused on the top of the table. But like I said, I do think Leicester are too big to go down. I know, look, results haven't been going your way, but it could be worse. It could be Everton. I know there's a couple of people that might be displeased with that, but I cannot see Everton staying in the Premier League this season. So that's one team knocked off the board. Leicester will pick up some results. They will surprise folk. I think the Chelsea game is probably a lot closer than people will realise. Like, look, there is a reason why Chelsea have scored 2 goals in 2 months. If they, open the floodgates, and obviously, look, I've jinxed the Leicester squad. When you guys play them, but I think either Leicester will scrape out a narrow win there, or it'll be probably a battled out draw. But like I said, it is tough to see Leicester going through this. But I think Brendan Rodgers does deserve time. He is a good manager. He's capable of great things. I mean, he is going to lose some key players in the summer transfer window, and I think if he just gets the reinforcement he needs, yeah, they will be back up the table. I mean, next season, it's just a case of getting it right until the summer. And even if it's a case of going into every game and just trying to grind out a 1-0 or a 1-1 or whatever it takes just to stay in the league, then so be it. If you have to play ridiculously ugly football, then so be it. I mean, I had to sit through 2 seasons of Jose Mourinho at United, and I mean, that was torturous. When you see how they play, even at times under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and how they play now, I mean, I would much rather take the exciting end-to-end football than the grind it out part, but grinding out gets results, and results is more important than the on-field performance. Whether or not they're playing an attractive brand of football, just grind it out until the season is over. Focus on the summer transfer window. Make the tactical tweaks that you need to make. They can go back up the table, not a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've just had a look at the bottom six. I'd say Nottingham Forest is safe in 14th. They're 2 points clear of us. And they're on a good run of form at the moment. But then it's us on 24 points, West Ham on 23. So we haven't talked about them in a while. But, you see that 4-0 win against Forest 2 weeks ago, and then they lose 4-0 to Brighton. It's a rough one that you can't really get an indication of how their season's going to go. Then it's Leeds. I think they're going down. Unless they bring someone in that's good quality. But again, who do you bring in? They won't stay up. I think sacking Jesse Marsh was a stupid idea. He'd brought in all those signings that he wanted to work with. He had a clear plan. They got rid of him too soon. I think end of the season, if they went down, fair enough. But give them until then, because they're in a worse situation now than they were 3 weeks ago. And then the bottom three at the moment is Everton, Southampton, Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth will go down. Southampton, I'm not sure. I think if any one of those bottom three are going to stay up, I think it'll be Southampton. I think getting rid of Nathan Jones was the right choice there. Because, Sellers hasn't done brilliantly. But he's got the win at Chelsea. He's got the win against us. They are getting results. It might not be against the big teams, but they're doing all right. So I think the relegated teams this season will be Leeds, Bournemouth, and Everton. Don't know what order, but I think that's what it'll be.
That's what I think it'll be as well. I think they're probably the three strongest candidates to be relegated, and I think Everton might have the unfortunate luck of being the first ever team to unveil a brand new modern stadium with a bigger capacity for all our fans just to be watching it in the Championship. I think, look, it's unfortunate if they do go down. They've got such a rich history, but history doesn't guarantee success anymore, as we're aware. But if those three go down, I completely agree about the Jesse Marsh incident. I genuinely cannot explain a second. Yeah, obviously, results didn't go their way, but if you're going to bring someone in at that stage, just let them do their work. He should have been given till the end of the season. And look, the games that they did lose, I can't honestly turn around and say I expected a result from them in those games. I think the one that they surprised people the most in, and ironically this was after Jesse had been let go, was the United matches. They hadn't shown the tenacity or the fight in previous matches until those two games, and it shouldn't take a squad of players to, a local derby to play to that level. They were so suffocating. They were, winning every battle, winning every second ball, relentless, constantly on the front foot. Where was that when Jesse was around? Why couldn't have been there? I mean, if they had pulled their socks up before that, yeah, they'd probably be in a better position. But it shouldn't have to wait until a manager gets sacked to perform better. But I do think Leicester will stay up. I think the three that we've named probably will go down. I think City will probably pull ahead, as they will inevitably do in the Premier League. I mean, we've seen leagues won when the league leader was ahead by 10 points. We've seen the 10 points just disappear. It's happened historically. And like I said, I know history doesn't guarantee success, but it does show that patterns emerge, and sometimes teams obviously fall off the rails. I think Arsenal will probably have a very good chance of winning the Europa League. I think if they get past Sporting, the only other team that will probably give them a bit of challenge is United. We've all seen how the two games have gone this season. There was a hard fought win at Old Trafford, and then there was an end-to-end encounter at the Emirates. I mean, who knows how that would go in Europe? But I think Arsenal, and I know Lucas had mentioned it's all about rotation. I probably focus very heavily on the Europa League. Arsenal winning the European trophy would be extremely significant, even if it is only a minor one. So they say a European trophy is better than no trophy.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it is an either-or situation there, Lucas. I don't know what you think about that. But who do you think are going to be the 3 teams that dropped down this season? Are you leaning towards the same as we have, or do you reckon it'll be Leicester, West Ham, or quite what?
No, I don't think West Ham or Leicester will go down. I think the same as you guys. I mean, as Robbie said, like, history doesn't guarantee results or anything, but it does give you a bit of belief that, look, we're way too big to go down. Yeah, I can't see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a strange one. I think with 13 games left to play, anything could happen. We could end up finishing mid-table, and Chelsea could end up in the relegation battle. It is a bit early to say, but obviously with every game that goes on, it does get tighter. But it's definitely an interesting topic. I think this year it's a closer battle at the top and at the bottom than we've seen in a long time.
Definitely. I mean, Arsenal have emerged under Arteta finally. And I'd still love to make a point to Piers Morgan if you ever watch this. However, with a remote chance that may be, this time last year he was calling for Arteta's head, and now he's trying to troll United fans on social media about having Ten Hag resign. It's kind of like, Piers, come on. I mean, this time last year he wanted Arteta out. It was very clear that Arteta was trying to implement, a strategy, a vision, and a philosophy in that club. I've watched the documentary. I referenced it previously. You can see that he has passion for Arsenal. You can see that he has clear and concise vision. He is a very good man manager. I mean, overall, Arsenal are probably, I would say, they're lucky to have him. I don't think he has the experience to win the league, but we've seen stranger things happen. Leicester. It's a very strange Premier League this season. I think Newcastle are obviously in the mix now, and they probably weren't thought of last season to be in the mix. They do seem to be probably falling off, and I know it's a little bit premature to say, but I can't see Newcastle clawing their way into the top 4 and staying there. I think they've kind of been figured out a little bit. The Carabao Cup final loss might have dented their confidence a little. I think they've also been their style of football, obviously, like I said, has been figured out. Teams have figured a way to look if you can just go at them relentlessly, or do the City way, which is throw a lot of money at a very high-end bunch of players and tell them to go out there and beat Newcastle. They will. But yeah, it's an interesting season. We've got a lot of things going on. The title race. It's nice to see someone other than City. And look, usually it's Liverpool, but it's nice to see someone other than City leading the line. Will they lead the line at the end of the season? Who knows? But it's just, like I said, it is good to see someone other than City rising out in a pack to say, okay, let's see how the season goes. Let's see what we can do here.
I think the top 4 race is the best one so far this season, though, as well. Until Conte went off for that gallbladder surgery, they were lingering whereabouts, like 7th or 8th. You wouldn't have said they'd get a Champions League spot, but now Stellini's got up into 4th. They're 3 points clear of Liverpool, which, again, they were down in 9th at one point. No one would have thought they'd be in contention for it. And Newcastle dropped down to 6th. So you really can't predict it. But having said that, I do think end of the season, not sure on the order, but I think it'll be Arsenal, City. I think United could drop off if they don't get this Liverpool performance sorted. I think it'll be Fulham. I think United will scrape it on the final day. It'll come down to the wire, I think, for United. If not, it'll be Liverpool. But I think it's too early for Newcastle. And I think if they did get into Europe next season, or at least the Champions League, I think they'd suffer in the Prem. I think getting into Europe too early will actually just harm them. I don't think they've got the squad depth to be fighting in the FA Cup, Carabao Cup, Premier League, Champions League just yet. Europa League or Conference League, yeah, that's fine because you can play such rotated squads and it's not an issue. But when you're playing, your Bayern Munichs and your PSGs on a midweek and then playing Liverpool and United on the weekend, you can't do it. So I think dropping off is actually good for them. And I don't think they'll be too fussed that they're not pushing for the top 4. But yeah, I'd love to see Fulham in the Champions League next season. I think maybe Brighton and Brentford in the Conference League or the Europa League. It's nice to have so many teams now that are actually challenging for the top. Maybe not the very top, but the top 4 of the Europa League spots, because we've had that big six for so long, and this season it's fallen apart, and it's quite nice to see. It spices things up, and every game seems to have an impact on either the title race, the top four race, or the relegation battle. There's no games that just mean nothing now. It's brilliant to watch.
It is. I mean, I think United are probably far too ahead to drop off, but it obviously does all depend on how they react to the 7-0 loss to Liverpool. We have seen them bounce back. Look, they bounced back from a 4-0 mauling to Brentford. They came back from losing 6-3 to City. I mean, they have shown that look, they do come back, whether it's 10 or 15 games or however. At least they have shown that they do have some form of resilience in coming back. Whereas I would rather prefer they don't have resilience in coming back, but more so they're assured of their victories. I can't see Fulham getting into the Champions League. I could see them potentially scraping into the Conference League with Brighton probably securing the Europa League spot. I think Brighton and Newcastle will probably fight it out for the Europa League, and I think top four in no particular order at all would probably be City, United, Arsenal, and Liverpool. Spurs, I think, probably will drop off big time.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one as well with Spurs, isn't it? Because they've done so much better results-wise. I haven't watched any of their games to know how they're performing in them, but results have been so much better under Stellini. And when Conte came back, they lost. Was it to Wolves? I don't know if it was a loss or a draw. And when they played Leicester, we beat them 4-1 or 4-0. But that was under Conte as well. They're doing so much better under their assistant manager, and it's whether that's actually going to kind of turn them around in the team and be like, well, what's the point in you being here? Your tactics are a bit, when your deputy's getting us 3 points every week, it could swing it, not just the fact that he's back, but the morale and how that affects it. I hadn't realised that, Brighton had 2 games in hand over Fulham, or that you had a game in hand over Spurs. So, I mean, that'll kind of swing it, and the top 4 could change from that. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting one. Definitely. And I think next week, obviously with it being close to the end of the season and a few more games played, we'll have a lot better picture. So I think we'll wrap it up there for this week and come back next week for episode 7 of the From the Spot podcast, where again, we'll cover the biggest sporting stories of the week and have a look forward to the end of the season and where teams are going to end up.